year has been, I think, crazy for a lot of us, and we have learned a lot, I think, as professionals relating to some of these like Zoom meetings and Zoom interactions. And so I'm excited to talk about this topic. And two people, I have two co-presenters who are equally, if not better, at Zoom than I am. And I'm going to pass it over to Johanna Flores to introduce herself too.
Thank you, Lauren. Well, my name is Johanna Flores. I've been with Moss Adams for almost 7 years. I'm a senior manager in the assurance practice based in the LA office, but I live in the Valley, so Woodland Hills is really my office here. And now I'll pass it to Camelia.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces for those of you who do have cameras on, and if you don't, that's quite all right. My name is Camelia Sarmati. I'm the campus recruiting manager for Moss Adams. I have been with this awesome firm for about 5 years now, and I've just been a campus recruiter now for almost 10, which is awesome. I feel like I never graduated college, so. All right.
And I totally just graduated college too, just a couple years ago. So it's like being back home. No, well, it's been a while since I've been in college, but I love campus recruiting, and I think that this is totally unprecedented, having to go through, and I can't even imagine how this pivot has happened, and how, I mean, you all have done such a great job with this pivot of being in this virtual recruiting environment. It definitely presents a lot of opportunities, and there are some drawbacks as well, but being able to make an impression and have a strong presence on Zoom when doing a virtual interview, really when doing any type of virtual interaction, is really, really key to connecting. And that's really what this presentation is about, is how can we continue to connect and communicate when we don't have the benefit of in-person interactions. I'm a little bit of an introvert, so honestly, I almost do better sometimes on Zoom than I do in real life, because I don't know what to do with my hands and things like that. So Zoom kind of makes it a little bit easier. I feel a little bit more at ease being just a tiny box, but it's important what's presented in this tiny box. So where we're going to go with this presentation is moving on to the next slide, sorry. We're going to talk a little bit about virtual interview tips, and we're going to address some of the basics. It might be common sense, but actually it might be things that we don't think about. We'd love to keep this interactive, so if you do have questions, pop them in the chat. We'll address them. There is no bad question when it comes to virtual interviewing and this virtual environment. So please, just if you have something that you're wondering about, pet peeves or things that you do that people have told you is good or bad, ask, and we can talk through it. We'll also provide 15 minutes about our firm highlights, talking a little bit more about Moss Adams, and then the last half of this will be breakout rooms. So I believe we have 28 plus people. A good portion of them are Moss Adams individuals, but it'll be some great time to have some one-on-one interactions and ask questions. So what we're going to talk about first is just our setup, and some of these are key components. Camera positioning, lighting, background presence, right? That is the box that we're in right now. And I do a lot of presentations with audit committees, boards of directors. A lot of those people, the people that are in those meetings look like the person in the center of our screen. We just see heads or the tops of faces or up nostrils. So I'm kind of used to that view, but what we're talking about, and we all have different views, right? I think some of us are all going to be a little conscious about what we're presenting here in this when we're talking through some of these best practices and tips. But this really is focused on the one-on-one interview interaction. This isn't like if you're just listening to a presentation or things like that. This is the one-on-one personal interaction. And what you want to make it seem like is you're sitting across the desk from a person. And you want to think about sitting across the desk from the person. You want to eliminate things in front of your, distracting. You want to have that one-on-one interaction. So think about if you were sitting with somebody across the desk from you and they were just sticking their head above. That's what you want to present in this is how can you just be like you're in a room with that person. think that we'll just jump right into it. This doesn't address every element. One of my things is audio and sound. I don't know if we talk about audio and sound in this presentation, but we can address it at some point too. Audio and sound is one of the things I find is the most important, because in communicating, you want to hear a person. So, but first we'll start with camera. And I'm going to pass it over to Johanna to talk a little bit about the setup and positioning.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. Okay, well, we used to walk into an office for an interview wearing a nice suit, portfolio in your hand, and a great handshake. You will be able to command attention with your body. But now things have shifted, and the way we make first impressions is impacted by how we show up virtually. We know it's difficult to keep the attention on someone you're speaking to virtually. Studies show that 42% online attention rate versus a 94% in-person attention rate. During this presentation, as Lauren mentioned, we want to arm you with what you need to keep that attention rate of your audience and start to communicate your personal brand during your interviews or virtual meetings. Next slide, please. Virtual interviews come with so many distractions you wouldn't normally have to deal with when you travel into an employer's office. Be sure to do what you can to eliminate these potential interruptions on your end prior to beginning the video call. Camera positioning, eye level or slightly above, keep eye contact on the screen. And that's difficult for me because I have like the camera on the side of the monitor. So I try to do my best, but that's something to keep in mind, especially when interviewing. Your shoulders and forehead should be in view, and try not to be too close and give yourself some space. I feel like arm's length is kind of like the standard. In terms of lighting, no light behind you. Watch out for windows. In my case, I have a window to my left, and when I have calls before 11:30 a.m., I get this great natural bright light. But once I hit the 11:30 a.m. mark, I have to close that window because, or the curtains, because I get a shadow over my head and I get the darkness under my eyes. And it looks so unprofessional because it looks like if I just woke up or I didn't clean my makeup from the day before, it's really bad. So this slide shows a tip that I didn't know there was an option, but I found it very helpful. And it says, if you have a second screen, pull up a blank white page and use it as a light to brighten your face. Isn't this great? I'll try next time. Now, this next slide will show an example, or shows an example of getting the camera positioning and lighting just right. So I'll give it a few seconds for you to study it, and I will pass it back to Camelia.
Awesome, guys. So moving forward, talking a little bit about backgrounds here. These are a hot topic for sure. We're going to talk about two different ones. Specifically, first, live backgrounds like I have behind me. A lot of us here have live backgrounds instead of virtual backgrounds. You've heard this before, but it bears repeating that you want to avoid personal rooms like your bedroom or even bathrooms at times. If they are, if a bed is in view, try and do your best to make sure it's pristinely clean, that your pillows are like at least where they need to be and you don't have laundry on top of your bed. Especially you're talking in an interview setting, right? You want to be putting your best foot forward. In terms of having things moving, this was actually a tip I got from wonderful Lauren Haverlock. She shared this with me, man, back when pandemic just started. And we were thinking about how these like fans that people have behind them can be super distracting. I'm looking through right now at all of us here on the screen, and no one here has an example of this, but typically when it's hotter outside, you're going to see some of this happening. So turn that off for the interview. Keep things professional and simple. As you know, you should close all your windows and all that to keep things silent. But a tip I have for you is that if things do happen, life happens, someone walks in, or toddlers yanking at your pant leg and saying, I want lunch or I want a snack, you can quickly just acknowledge the person that you're connecting with and say, just give me one moment, I'm gonna I'll be right back. You can mute yourself and then watch your nonverbal expressions on your face. Try to keep it cool. Communicate what you need to the person who is interrupting your flow, and then come right back, apologize, and move on. that shows so much, just like command of space, command of yourself, that you're able to address a sticky situation and come straight back. You'd be surprised at how that actually makes you seem so much more mature and communicate such a positive influence. Okay, virtual backgrounds. So you guys seem to do this really well at CSUN, and I think I know why. You have access to some cool virtual backgrounds, but definitely it's part of the new normal. Things to consider when picking the right one. Keep it school related if you can. That's a pretty safe choice. Here up to the top, I have a photo of the orange groves on campus. I'm sure we all missed that scene, CSUN's campus. And so, you know, consider that. Anjanette, you have such a beautiful background behind you. I love, you know, just keeping it natural. You also have like a little bit of floor, so it seems as if you're in like a, I don't know, treehouse office. That's what it looks like, and I love that. I think it's you know, classy. It looks professional, but it also shows a little bit of personality. Lauren actually called out that she loves a good, like, you know, styled up interior designed background that seems to almost look real. So this picture right at the bottom kind of speaks to Lauren. So if you're ever interviewing with her, you can impress her with a cool interior design shot. And a cool thing that I know that you guys have access to is that CSUN shares a bunch of virtual backgrounds. Your marketing department is on point. And this is, I'm telling you, I've presented to a lot of other schools and they do not have access to these types of backgrounds. So love it, take advantage of it. If you feel like you need a virtual background, utilize one of these. You can find it pretty easily by just clicking, like Googling CSUN virtual background, and it comes up. Have any questions come into the chat? Just doing a quick check. Nope, no questions. Feel free to send us some in case they do come up, but I can keep going here. So in terms of clothing and attire, the top is the most important, right? No one knows what's going on below the waist, and that's an advantage for us. We can be comfy, we can wear shorts if it's hot, whatever you need, but up top, try and keep it professional. I mean, just even looking at all of you right now, Tim is wearing a great college shirt, Lisa is as well. I think that that really shows just a little bit of professionalism, and hopefully you're still comfy where you're sitting. In terms of colors, Joanna and Lauren are actually wearing jewel tones today. And so we call out the fact that jewel tones, specifically ones that are listed right here, you can look at some colors. These tend to wash us out the least. Whites and blacks do the opposite. And I love to wear a lot of black, so I really struggle with finding things in my wardrobe. In terms of presence, this kind of has to do with sound, but really making sure that you set a reminder for yourself to push energy out when you're speaking. It can get a little bit tiring and monotonous when you're speaking virtually to a screen because you're just hearing yourself constantly. So I like to set a little post-it reminder for myself that says push energy out. That way I look at it, I glance at it, I remember, all right, I gotta, you know, make sure that what I'm saying is sounding thoughtful and I'm actually pronouncing everything right. Sitting up straight does wonders for you. Eye contact we've talked about. And my favorite tip from this list is being an active listener. Now on this call already, many of you have been doing this. A head nod, good eye contact is super important. You'll find that a lot of times in interviews, the number one thing we'll see is that students will actually have the resume or the job description on another screen. So they'll be speaking to you, and then when they're, you know, an individual is listening, maybe I'm asking you a question, I kind of see eyes glancing over here. That makes me feel a little disconnected from you. So drag that resume or that, you know, that job description into the same screen, minimize it so that at least when you're looking at it, we can't tell the difference. Okay, lots of information on this slide, but I'm going to be quick about this. And this is actually the last of our slides regarding virtual interviews. So we really want to give you some reminders in terms of the actual interaction in the interviews. Find optimal location, go on Do Not Disturb on everything that you have, Google Chat, your phone, whatever it is. And then keep your resumes, like we mentioned, everything on the screen. You can have a notepad handy in case you have questions so that you can just go ahead and write those down in front of you. And it actually looks pretty professional when you take a moment, write something down, and then look back up. And you can even mention that I'm actually just taking notes during our call. So something to consider. Glass of water, of course, next to you. Double check your webcam, audio, and internet connections. You guys are pros at this by now, but we all have technical issues. So right here, we actually jotted down some things for you to consider. Having a backup plan. And this actually comes into play even in a normal interview when you're driving and you think, what if my car breaks down? How do I get there? All right, well, I can probably call a friend or call an Uber. Those are backup plans that you need to have in a virtual world as well. Check your internet speeds beforehand. And my favorite tip is having a recruiter or the interviewer contact available, having either their phone number or email address available so that you know who to hit up when you're in a bad position and you just lost all internet connection and you need to reach out and let someone know that you're going to be late or you're having trouble. Have that contact ready. And another good tip is having a second device ready, maybe a roommate's iPad or your cell phone in case your computer dies and you're not able to access it. These are tips, of course, for the interview itself, knowing your elevator pitch, making sure it scripts comfortably. Highly, highly recommend you record yourself if you can, answering some of these questions and giving out your elevator pitch. Record it on your phone, listen back, and critique yourself. You will be amazed at what you hear and how you're able to grow from that experience. And then research and study up on the company. There's so much that we're pushing out in terms of articles on LinkedIn or even just Google. And so take a moment and look us up before the interview. All right, any questions come through the chat on that?
Everyone's pros.
They sure are, and that's why
You're
ready.
I have a question before you guys start, if you don't mind.
Sure.
About that, the colors that we have to choose, do we need to wear those colors, or it's like, I didn't understand.
Those were just recommended colors, Meg, that we, in terms of attire, when you're thinking of what color to wear, you're wearing a nice ruby right now, so jewel toned. That ruby color just helps keep you from looking washed out. Washed out meaning that there's little contrast between, actually, I look pretty washed out. You don't want to look like this.
I have the blue scarf, so that's nice.
Yeah, it's helping, but I think my shirt is actually not helping me. So this is a good example of what not to do. If I move my scarf and give myself a little more blue, I don't look as washed out, see? So that's what we're trying to prevent.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, I've bought additional clothes that I probably won't wear outside of quarantine, but I was wearing the same, I have a lot of black and gray suits, and I was wearing the same jackets to all my calls, and I just got a couple bright ones. Target had some, I got some from Target. They might not look the best on me like in real life, but for this, they work perfectly. So, you might want to see if you can go find something, at Target. And my husband got me some that were like sweat suit jackets. Like they're sweats and they're suit jackets, so they're comfy like a sweater. It's a different world. And I mean, if you all think that you might be working in this environment, it might be something worthwhile to get, because we're all going to be back in the office someday, but I don't think that this virtual interaction is going away.
Definitely.
Good tip.
Yeah. But now you're ready. So now you can totally do that. I want to echo that dry run. That is so helpful to have a run. I still do it with my husband's across the house. Sometimes I'll I'll have him join my WebEx, and we'll just make sure the internet connection's working, because it hasn't been for me in the past couple weeks. So anyways, I want to tell a little bit more about Moss Adams. I'm going to kick this off, and then we'll start. First thing to talk about is a little bit about our locations. So we're considered a mid-tier firm, but we're national. Our clients are all over the United States. We work across all 50 states. We have employees across many more states than just where our locations are. But this shows the different offices that we have right now. You can see we have a really strong presence here in California, and our Southern California Phoenix region. We've got 4 different hubs. We've got the Los Angeles hub, Orange County, San Diego, and Phoenix, and that's all within the same region. We're kind of regionally based within our bigger firm. But here in LA, we're actually going to be expanding our office presence, and we used to just have a West Side and a Woodland Hills office, but we're going to be adding in offices in Pasadena and El Segundo. So the West Side office will no longer be around, which was fine because it was really hard to get in and out of, to be honest. And we have offices in El Segundo and Pasadena. So it's really exciting that we're going to have all these options, and it's going to allow people to kind of live closer to where they want to work, because those were hubs that we analyzed when we looked at our employees and our clients, and that made the most sense for our firm. But the Woodland Hills office is still going to be here, and I know as CSUN students, that's really important. And it's my home office as well. So we do have also international presence as well. We do have a China practice, and we have this really strong international consulting practice. So we do cross-border services. We're not just completely confined to the United States. We have all types of offices. And so, I mean, location doesn't seem very relevant right now that we're in a virtual world, but it is nice to know where the hubs are. And it also is nice to know that now we've gotten really successful at undertaking engagements and connecting with each other virtually. So, just a little bit about some of the some of our expertise in like the range of the size of our firm outside of just locations. We are headquartered in the Western United States, and we're the top firm that's actually headquartered in the West, with over 105 years in business. Our firm, we have over 3,200 professionals and 340 partners. So we are, it's a big firm, but it's not too big. You do know the partners, you do know your peers, you do get to know a lot of people, and you are able to build so many personal connections and know the names of partners in other offices. So one of the things that we really have focused on, and I think Johanna's going to go into this in our next slide a little bit. Well, I don't know if we're going into the next slide, but in a couple slides from now, we have a bunch of different industries that we serve. So while we're all strong tax and or audit professionals, at some point we do start to kind of align more with a particular industry. And with 30 different industry options, you're able to connect what you like to do with what your personal interests are with what you're doing from a technical perspective. We have part of a Praxity Alliance, and that's an alliance of other firms in the world, actually. And so we are able to connect within our firm network worldwide to serve clients across the world in a similar way to and what we would think of an international firm would do is that we have these alliances that we build, and 690 million of revenue earned. That's a lot of money. So
It is.
I always see that, and I always like, oh wow, okay. Yeah.
All right. I think this is my slide, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. Well, I love this slide because I like to brag about our perks and all the good stuff we get for working at Moss Adams. This includes a juicy $5,000 bonus for passing the CPA exams within the first year at the firm. There are 6 business resource groups that we will be highlighting in a future slide. We get 5 weeks of paid time off, so a 5-week vacation each year, up to 3 key people assigned to you to help you grow, set goals, and build your network. As Lauren was mentioning, building this, it helps a lot when building these personal connections within Moss Adams. There is a $500 match for employee donations, dollar for dollar. For example, if I donate to my kid's school $500, the school will receive an additional $500 from Moss Adams. Isn't that great? 25% of our partners are women, and this is above the industry average. We get great reviews from our people. Currently, 90% of employees are proud to say they work for Moss Adams. Next slide. Industry focus. Here you'll discover the advantage of industrial grade expertise. Beyond technical acumen, our professionals are highly involved in the market sectors they serve. Our keen understanding of industry trends and challenges allows us to anticipate and respond to opportunities for our clients that might otherwise go untapped. One thing that really sets Moss Adams apart from other firms is our industry focus. We are specialists and experts and the trusted advisors that our clients look for to us for. Your first couple of years, you will be exposed to dozens of different industries, and will be able to specialize as you advance in your career. At bigger firms, and I tell you this from experience, you work only on one or two clients each year. At smaller firms, no specialization because they don't have enough clients. Whereas at Moss Adams, there are lots of opportunities to find what you really like and have the exposure and expertise in many areas. Through a full spectrum of accounting, consulting, and wealth management services, we bring the deep industry specialization and inspired thinking our mid-market clients seek. And this slide is a nice visual summary of the industries we serve. Um, Many of you, and we can go to the next slide. Many of you will likely interview with local firms in your area, as well as some national firms or even with big fours. They are all great firms, but believe me, Moss Adams offers the best of both worlds. I see it as the best combination. We have the advantages of a national firm in terms of resources, or the national firm is in terms of resources, advanced technology, technical depth, as a result of the remarkable training we receive, which ultimately results in career advancement. And at the same time, we have the advantages of a smaller or local firm with a strong local presence, being responsive. And I would like to point out also the advantage of our culture. The feeling that we are part of a large and reputable firm that gives us a stability. And at the same time, we get the warm feeling of being part of a family. I strongly believe we do get the best of both worlds. So now I will pass it back to Lauren for the next slide.
Thank you so much. So we also have gotten some recognition for some of the great things that Johanna has said. And some of I'm personally really proud of some of the women awards that we've gotten. I am a mother to young children. I have kids from 14 months to 6 years old. Sorry, working too much. I know how old my kids are. It's fine. But we are one of the top 100 best companies from Working Mother magazine. And I mean, I feel like I have the flexibility and support with just some of the institutional things that Johanna had talked about with some of the benefits that we have, and also just from like a supportive environment that supports working families, honestly, because it's not just women. I mean, we do have some of different, requirements than men when it comes to having children, but it's supportive to the entire family. Innovation Women in Programming Award, that was something from the AICPA. And then Best Accounting Firms for Women, top companies for executive women. I mean, these are all really, really fantastic things. One of the things that also is cool is some of the adoption benefits that we have, and we are one of the most 100 top best adoption friendly workplaces out there. So a lot of excellence. You'll see the reason, and we keep referring to our inclusion and diversity initiatives. And so, I mean, I think that these awards highlight the benefits of our focus on inclusion and diversity. Oh, and also for the 9th year in a row, we are one of the 9th top firm according to the Vault Accounting top 50 or Vault Accounting 50 survey. There's a lot of numbers in here. And so I think this is just based on our overall prestige and highlighting that some of the importance that we put on our people and the commitment that we have to careers and growth, it really shows in this results that we have here, these results. Back to Johanna for the inclusion and diversity that we've been referring to so much.
Thank you. So just as this slide reflects it, our inclusion and diversity mission is to foster an inclusive culture that values the voices and ideas of all of our people. So in the inclusion and diversity, we have different groups in within, right? And one of them is the Latinx. And I relate so much to it because I'm part of it. I am not exactly part of the committee, but it welcomes everyone at the firm. And I was able actually to help them and last year to set up the event that we have celebrating the Hispanic Heritage Month back in September. So we have different events and different ways to support our people and also attract, develop, and retain professionals, making sure that our firm is diverse enough and we all have the sense that we belong to it. Moving on.
Joanna, did you want to highlight some of the business resource groups that we do have?
Sure. So right here we have the Forum W, and I was part of Forum W for like, I want to say probably 4 years. I believe Lauren is still part of it. And with the Forum W, again, just like I mentioned with the Latinx, in here, I feel like the firm really makes an effort to support women and to make sure that we are not alone, right? We all go through different issues at different stages of our lives. And something that I notice is that, well, I joined public accounting later in my life, right? But we see that at the senior level, manager level, our ladies start getting married and it's this fear of, I'm not gonna be able to make it, right? I can't be a wife, a mom, and work in public accounting. So Forum W, I believe, is one of the top of the line, if you will, business resource groups that supports all women. And like I mentioned earlier, 25% of our partner group is actually female. So that's great news. We also have the Black Business Resource Group, Pride Business Resource Group, Latinx, which I already mentioned. We have the Veterans and Asian Business Resource Group at Moss Adams.
I know we're running out of time here, so I mean, I can even just mention these, but Lauren talked a little bit about Moss Adams Foundation and the $500 of matching that comes out of the foundation. Just an awesome group and effort on behalf of the firm to make sure that we are giving back to the communities that we live in and that our clients are in and that we serve. So really positive. And then here's some photos of us working from home. It is the reality of all of us. We just bring this up because we just want to say, we get it. We are with you. We are also working from home and the challenges that come with it are so real. In regards to spring recruiting, I just want to highlight just a couple of opportunities for all of you on this call. You see here the three, there's a scholarship and 2 internship opportunities there at the bottom. The scholarship opportunity is for freshmen and sophomores. It is posted and live on the Moss Adams Careers website. Check that out if you haven't already. And then for sophomores and juniors on a 5-year track, you can apply for either the GPS internship, which is a little bit more of a focused internship for the summer of 2021. We really only hand out a handful of those internships across the firm, and it's given as kind of like a bird's eye introductory view of public accounting. And then the more traditional internship, which you guys are all familiar with, client service facing, so audit, tax. The great thing about our 2022 accounting internship is that in the LA and OC office, it's a rotational program. So you'll actually be able to switch between audit and tax, or even incorporate maybe a consulting rotation if that interests you. So definitely apply. If you guys don't know yet, your application deadline is Friday, February 26th. We hope you get your applications in. Even just like looking through all of you right now, I know that some of you have already gotten your applications in, so wonderful job. And I really am looking forward to reviewing those. We ask for your cover letter, resume, and unofficial transcripts from every institution you've attended, including community college if you have transferred. And we ask that you apply just specifically on the Moss Adams Careers website. Alrighty, let's do some breakout rooms. I know we went a little over, but I think we have time for some good breakout rooms.